Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Desktop Central training. I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar in your busy schedule. Let me introduce myself. My name is Felix, associated with ManageEngine Zoho Corp. I'll be the presenter for today's training. Let's have a look at the training schedule. As you all know, it is a 5 weeks of training series. Now we are in the third week for asset management. All the training will be recorded and it can be easily accessed in the below mentioned website desktopcentral.com/training.html. The registered participant will be notified via email about the recorded session. Here is the agenda for today's training. I will start with the overview or architecture of asset management, and we will see how it works. This training is designed based on problem solution approach. So I have taken 4 real-time scenarios to discuss on this training. We will see how Desktop Central Asset Management helps in managing licenses, controlling the usage of unauthorized applications, also upgrading the Windows 10. So what we are going to plan for upgrading the Windows 10 operating system, and proactively resolving hard disk space issues. Followed by that, I will be discussing on a few other interesting scenarios and solutions that we came across in our support experience. If you have any questions during this training, you can request in the chat window. Our expert panel sitting next to me who will answer the questions raised in the chat window. For the better audience experience, questions will be discussed at the end of this session. So Desktop Central. It is an unified endpoint management solution that helps in managing servers, laptop, desktop, smartphones, and tablets from a central location. Traditional endpoint management has some difficulties on modern IT environment, which involves heterogeneous devices or the devices that travel outside the organization's network. So this Desktop Central offers an umbrella approach as an unified endpoint management to manage all the endpoint devices within an organization from a central location. It has 4 modules, and they are Desktop Central, OS deployment, mobile device management, and modern management. So modern management is an added functionality in the UEM edition where you can perform the geo tracking, complete and corporate-wide, and profile distribution, and app distribution to the operating system supported. So as we are familiar with the Desktop Central functionality, where we can do patching, software deployment, configurations, or remote control. Now in the OS deployment, where we can capture an image and deploy an image, and mobile device management that allows managing iOS and Android devices. The supported operating system. Desktop Central Asset Management supports all 3 major operating systems. They are Windows, Mac, and Linux. Here you can see the version of each operating system that I have specified. We also have a large customer base who contributes to our community. With the help of them, we are categorizing the application as commercial automatically. Right now, we have 21,000 plus and growing application marked as commercial by Desktop Central. Now let's have a quick look at the architecture of the Desktop Central. Desktop Central is an on-premise solution, and it is also a client server-based software. So Desktop Central server application needs to be installed on a dedicated server, and the required operating system is going to be a Windows operating system. Similarly, agent installation is mandatory when we need to push the agent on all the computers in order to manage from the Desktop Central server. And we can manage LAN-based network, So machines connected on the same network can communicate, and you can manage those computers very easily. And managing a WAN-based network. So you may have different remote sites. Either they could be connected on the same network via site-to-site VPN connection, or it can also be on a separate network. So is it possible to manage in this case? Desktop Central can manage computers part of a different remote site, whether they are connected on the same network or different network, you can manage. By adding a remote office, you can manage the wide area network. And there is a component called a distribution server. A distribution server can be configured in a remote office, and it can be installed on the Windows operating system. So now agents will communicate to the distribution server as well as to the Desktop Central server at the same time. So whenever the agent requires a patch deployment or software deployment, then it will download the patches from the distribution server. Now the distribution server downloads all the patches and software on its local repository. Agent will download them and process the deployment. Once the deployment is completed, the agent will directly post the status to the Desktop Central server application. So regardless you have a distribution server, the agent needs to communicate to the Desktop Central server. Now assuming that you have 10 meg of a file and that you're deploying it to a remote office which has a distribution server, then now it goes to a distribution server and clients grab it from there. Also, you can add a remote office with the direct communication. So agents will directly contact the Desktop Central server. And when you have less than 10 computers, you can create a remote office with the direct communication. So agents will directly pull the software and patches from the main Desktop Central server. So managing a roaming user. So who work from their home, or it can be a sales user who travel from one location to another location. Desktop Central helps managing even roaming users. By configuring a NAT settings, which is network address translation. In other words, we can say port forwarding needs to be configured. So roaming user can talk to the Desktop Central server. So we can also manage machines connected on the local network, the wide area network, or even if it is on the internet, we can manage those computers. Or we can also configure a Desktop Central server in the DMZ. So we know what is DMZ. So it is a secure hosting so that the client machine can reach the server in a secure way. So now, these are the components. So far, we have understood the server and agent distribution server components and the use case. So notification server is another important component which plays an important role in any on-demand task, such as remote control, on-demand scan, and when we perform a deployment of patches or software immediately. The agent will have a live connection or have a connectivity to the notification server all the time. So when we perform an on-demand task, the notification server alerts the agent to perform these operations. So all the actions will be using the pull method, so agent always get this information. Secure gateway. So secure gateway is an optional component. So if you are not willing to host or install the Desktop Central server on the DMZ, we also have a secure gateway as an optional component. Like it can work as a proxy server. So agent machine will communicate to the secure gateway and all the requests will be forwarded to the Desktop Central server internally from DMZ to internal network. So failover server. So failover server brings in an additional server which actively monitors the primary server and takes over the operations when primary server fails. This feature helps you in eliminating the downtime in your business. And language pack is also optional component if you would like to use a different language, and you can also get that and it can be utilized. So agent installation methods. So these are the important agent installation method and commonly used. Automatically installing an agent, pushing the agent from the portal. And if you have a Windows Active Directory, we can also leverage the GPO policy to install the agents. So this will help installing an agent on the existing computers, even if you bring a new computer in future. And as soon as it being part of a domain or OU based on the GPO policy, it can automatically install the agent. So agent installation can be easily performed. Even we have some options in the Desktop Central to automate the agent installation. So we can utilize these options to add the computers in future automatically. So we do not have to add them whenever you get a new computer. And manual script deployment. We can download the agent from the portal and extract it. So this is useful when you have a roaming user and he's an administrator. So we can send this zip file. So the end user can follow the instruction and install the agent manually. So these are the major agent installation methods available. So as soon as the agent deployed, it communicates to the server. So 90-minute refresh policy. Desktop Central architecture is scalable to manage even large networks up to 25,000 machines. This is possible because of the refresh policy that we have. So what is refresh policy? Every Desktop Central agent would be contacting the server at once in 90 minutes. This is called as refresh cycle. This feature ensures that all computers in the network contact the server periodically. So there are two important factors are ensured here. The network is not choked by the agent communication, meaning bandwidth is not disturbed due to the agent-server communication. Also, the performance of the server is not affected at any time. Desktop Central Server has an intelligence to systematic streamline communication from all agents at regular intervals. So it will slice down the number of client machines should communicate to them. For example, in a network of 90 computers, an average of one computer will reach out to the Desktop Central Server every minute. And for 900 computers network, so 10 computers will reach the server per minute. Similarly, for 9,000 computers, so 100 machines will reach out to the Desktop Central Server. So using this feature, the agent can communicate to the server without any hesitation. Here is a list of ports that is required for agent communication. I would say there are two mandatory ports, Desktop Central Server and Notification Server. The communication can be switched from HTTP to HTTPS from server settings. So we need to have these ports open. I would say these are the two mandatory ports. And here are the additional components. If you would like to use a voice and video chat or remote control and file transfer during the remote control, these are the ports that needs to be open. So it depends on the need. You can open it on the external firewall for roaming users, or you can also be configured for internal agents. And if you would like to know more details on the ports, you can visit desktopcentral.com/ports, and all the ports are going to be inbound to the server. So Desktop Central can be configured on the Microsoft Azure and AWS Marketplace. So there are advantages placing your server on the cloud. If you manage more roaming users, and having the server in the cloud will be an advantage. So it is a cost-effective solution. So if you are planning or if you're placing the device in the cloud, you can avoid the hardware infrastructure and it is maintenance cost. especially if you're a managed service provider. Then you can manage multiple customers' machines using the cloud easily. Desktop Central will be on the cloud very soon. Now we have released a cloud for another ManageEngine product, which is Patch Manager Plus. Also, we have a Remote Access Plus on cloud. We also have plans to introduce our own cloud platform called Zoho Cloud, so Desktop Central can be installed on the Zoho Cloud as well in future. So far, we have learned the general architecture of the Desktop Central, so how agent communicates, how we can define multiple remote offices. Now let's focus on the asset management. So why do enterprise need an asset management? In simple terms, asset management is required to manage all IT assets. For example, to find number of hardware and software installed in my network and its types, to manage the software licenses and the hardware warranty information, to find any unauthorized applications installed on the computers, to check the usage of the software, and then comprehensive reporting and a few other additional reports. These are all the basic requirements for asset management in an enterprise. So we will discuss further in detail about these reasons. So how asset management works? As I explained before, agent installation is must on the client machines in order to manage them. So when you install an agent on the client machine for the first time, Desktop Central agent automatically runs two types of scans: patch scan and asset scan. This will be automatically triggered. So now we are into asset management, so we will see how the asset scan works in detail. Scanning is important for asset management. When a scan is performed for a first time, it takes a complete data of a computer, which includes details of hardware, software, and posts the details to the server. So this is called full scan. So this is the first time when the agent deployed. So moving further, you can initiate a scan from the server, which is called on-demand scan. So when you initiate from the server, an on-demand scan request will be sent to the client machines via notification server. So this is the place where the notification server is used. So the client machine will perform a scan and post the data to the server. But this time, it will not post the complete data again. Instead, it will post only the changes made from the last successful scan. So these subsequent scans are called as differential scan. Agent has the intelligence to compare the old scan data and new scan data and post the difference to the server. This would also reduce the bandwidth being used by the Desktop Central agent for posting the data. So do I need to always run a scan manually on demand? Is there any way to automate the process? Yes, we do have an option to schedule the scan. So now let me take to the portal. So here is the inventory management. So now I can perform a scan in two different ways. From the inventory, and I have options in the left pane. Using the scan systems, I can select the computers and perform scan system manually, which means it is going to perform a scan only on these two computers, or I can select all the computers and perform a scan. So in order to automate this schedule process, we can use a scheduled scan, and by creating or modifying it, we can choose the frequency to run it on daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So when it is in large scale, when you go beyond 10,000 computers, so it is recommended to schedule the scanning twice or thrice a week. And you can also enter the email address in order to get an alert whenever a scan is completed to get a summary. So this is about performing a scan manually or automating the scan process. So what exactly happens during a scan? So let me show you a summary of what we have been, we have seen so far. So far we have discussed scan and its uses and types. So what are all the data we collect during the asset scan? So I'm just going to choose a computers tab and pick any machines that is available from here. So I'm just going to choose the one which is online. So it brings the summary details. So it finds the hardware details, software details. Also, it will fetch the warranty expiry date automatically. And USB usage details and file details. So how do we collect the data? So agent uses a WMI registry and from BIOS. Similarly, for Linux and Mac, we run commands and collect the data. And also we have other details where we have a system details and hardware that shows each and every individual hardware that we can find the details. So if you guys have any questions during this training, you can use the chat window so we can help you out. As I informed before, this training is based on problem and solution approach. So here is the first use case that I have taken, managing Office 365 licenses. Managing software licenses is one of the important aspects of asset management. This helps enterprises in being compliant and also in planning for additional purchases and to plan the license renewal. So let me show you a few basic details about license management in console for better understanding. From the left pane, so I choose manage licenses. So adding a license, I can either enter the application name, choose a pre-existing application from the list, or in case if I'm going to manage a license for application that I'm going to install in future, I can also enter the application manually here. And importing the licenses using a CSV file. And you have a sample CSV format and you can create a CSV file and import the license. Associate the computers. So when adding a license, we have an option to associate the license. You can choose one computer or multiple computer based on managed computers or based on the install computers list, just for your reference. And compliance status of the software, whether it is over licensed, under licensed, or in compliance, it is captured. So what if I have multiple or different versions of the same software? I can create a group and I can also track down the license for that software. So these are the general details about license management in the asset. So let us see some of the options available here. So assume that I am an administrator. I'm managing Office 365 application in my network. I have 20 licenses allocated for all 20 users that I currently have. So my HR team informed that there are 5 new employees joining the company and they belong to finance team. So they also need the Office 365 application installed on the machine. But I do not have any more license to allocate to them. This is a challenging situation for me. I have only 2 options. I need to procure additional 5 Office 365 license and allocate to the new users, or I need to revoke the license from the existing users and allocate them to the new one. So what if I choose the first option? So I purchase 5 new licenses for the Office 365 application. So now I can add an application from here by searching the respective application I wanted to add here. So I can choose it here and enter the total license purchased. Also, there are optional fields available such as purchase date, expiry date, and license key, and other information. So now I choose the Office 365 application here and then enter the number of license purchased. So now I'm going to add an additional license for the existing one which I've already added. Here I can add more. Now I can enter the additional license that I have purchased and I can save it. Now this is going to add the license with the existing count. So assume that I have 25 license that I've already added. So when I add an additional license, it is going to add 5 more licenses. Now it is going to be 30. So this is going to be useful where I can deploy the Office 365 application to those 5 new users. So let's assume that I had no choice of procuring additional licenses. In this case, I will have to revoke the license from the existing users and allocate them to the new one. To revoke the license from the existing user, I first need to check if any users are not using the application regularly. To analyze the usage of the application, I will have to use the option called software metering. So on the console, I'm going to add a rule by selecting the software name and name the rule, and I can specify the application name in here. So once the rule is created, the agent will get this information during a 90-minute refresh cycle, and it start monitoring the usage. So how the usage calculated? When opening and closing the application, it'll be considered as one usage. Agent will calculate the number of times and duration and post the data to the server only by end of the day. And we can also find this summary using the software metering summary tab. Or if you would like to get the report on a specific date range, so we also have a reporting option that helps you to achieve that. So now I found there are 5 or more users not using the application frequently. Now I can click this number, I can find that. And now I can uninstall those applications from those users. Then I can install the Office 365 on the new 5 users who's going to be part of finance team. So based on that, we can track whether it is over licensed, under licensed, or in compliance. So controlling the bandwidth spikes and handling the unauthorized applications. In the last meeting, there were 2 important concerns raised by the network security team. A considerable amount of bandwidth was consumed by desktops. Number 2, some unauthorized applications that is used by the end users. As an administrator, it is my responsibility to address this situation. I get a report from a network security team, and in bandwidth spike report, I found that torrent is a reason for the bandwidth spike. So I want to generate a report to see machines that contains the torrent installed. So now I can make use of the inventory of reports. And here I have a category called computers with or without a specific software. And now I can either browse the software from this list. I can search it. I can choose the software and click on generate report. And this is going to provide a list of computers that contains this software installed. So now I need to do 2 things here. I need to remove this unauthorized application from the computers. And also I need to monitor if any users is installing this application again. So do you have an option for this in inventory? Yes, we do have an option under prohibit software and blocking and executable. So let me go back to the portal here. So prohibit software. Now I can add a software into this list. I can again search for the software, and then I can add the software into the prohibited software list. This should be already added in here. So once I add the application into this prohibited software, the agent gets this information during refresh cycle, which is going to be in another 90 minutes. And it also alerts the end user during their logon screen, stating that these are all the prohibited software detected on this machine. And in order to uninstall those applications, I can enable the auto uninstall policy. I can notify the user for next 3 days and automatically remove the software after 3 days if they do not uninstall. So I can customize the message in here. As soon as the software is added, and it is going to alert the user during the login screen so they can uninstall it. If they do not remove it, then we can force uninstall the application. So how do we go about force uninstallation? The silent switches is an important one when it comes to uninstalling the software forcefully. So here is an uninstall command. I can specify the uninstallation switches, ensure that I get the silent switches and then add it. And I can do this based on a testing, ensure that it is working so that I can do a force uninstall. So based on this is going to forcefully uninstall the application based on the auto uninstall policy that is configured. So now, based on this, the prohibit software alerts the user and removes it. Or is there any way we can block from installing it on the computer? So using the block executable, so I can add a policy based on the file name or hash value. So those prohibited application can also be defined in here. So when the user tries to install the prohibited software, and it is going to alert the user. So I'm going to utilize the block executable for that, and this policy can be applied to all computers, or if you wanted to assign to a specific group of computers, you wanted to ignore the managers and only for the end users, you can create a custom group and you can target it. So once the policy gets applied in 90 minutes, it is going to alert the end user whenever they try to install these blocked applications. So this is how the prohibit software and block executable works in eliminating the unauthorized application. What if the user wants to have certain application for testing? And there would be a pop-up that will be displayed during the logon screen. So the end user can request an administrator, I want to install, or I want to have this application installed on my computer due to this reason. And once the request is sent out to the administrator, and from here you can approve it. So now we are familiar how prohibit software and block executable works. But planning Windows 10 upgrade. My organization decided to upgrade the machines to Windows 10 operating system and requested me to generate a report on eligible machines. They have provided me some criteria for Windows 10 upgrade. So I need to check the available hard disk space above 100 gig, to check the available RAM, and the criteria is 4 gig. And to check the machines which is under current warranty. So now I can go with the basic hardware reports and warranty reports. So in order to find the hard disk space above 100 gig, I can use the disk usage report. And I can also search based on the criteria. With the percentage, or we also show the free space. And we can export the report in PDF, CSV, or XLS format. If I wanted to particularly find the used space or free space on the C drive, I can also go onto the detail view and apply a filter if required, targeting to a specific domain or a group. And I can filter out the report and I can export it based on the need. So this is how I can pull the hard disk space related report. Now how about the RAM size, which is 4 gig or more than 4 gig? From the inventory reports, computers by memory. I can use it, I can find this in here. I can perform a search, and based on this, I can export the report based on the need, and I can also click the criteria or the graph that is available for me to pull the report. How about warranty related information that I can pull it from the existing predefined report. So here we have soon to expire or expired warranty related reports are available, which I can utilize and get the report. So these are the options that I can pull the report, and I can utilize them to categorize a list of machines that can be eligible or that can be installed with a Windows 10 operating system. So now I would like to upgrade this Windows 10 operating system based on the AD reports. So I would like to upgrade it based on the department wise. So how can I find it out? So in my organization, so OUs and AD are based on the departments. So using Desktop Central, we could get this report. Here is the Active Directory reports, AD reports on OU. So to bridge these details, so how about finding the expiry date based on this OU? I can find the list of computers part of this one particular OU, how I can combine the expiry date, the warranty expiry date, which is in the Desktop Central. So in order to combine this, we can use a query report. So if you have an expertise in constructing SQL query, we can share the database schema to generate the report of your choice. Or if you need our help in generating this SQL query, you can also submit a request and we can help you with it. And now the report is generated and able to see all the details including warranty with the departments. And this can be scheduled as well. From the schedule report, I can do it. So now when I schedule the report and I have other criteria, so I can choose different formats, PDF, CSV or XLS format. I can configure it to get the report on different frequencies, daily, weekly or monthly basis. And I can also add my colleague's email in here, who is also working along with me. So based on this, the report in all scheduled reports or custom report that can be scheduled in here. So proactively resolving hard disk space issues. As I mentioned, from the reports, we can utilize the hard disk space reports and find a list of computer that has the low hard disk space, and we can alert the user, or we can also schedule a task to clean up. The scenarios and solutions. So far, we have discussed on the uses of inventory management and 4 real-time examples that helps how IT asset management works in an enterprise. So the first scenario, I want to add additional information about my computers to the asset data. Is this possible? Yes, it is possible via custom field. So in the inventory computers tab, we have an option to add a custom field. There are 2 different places that we can keep this custom field. I can put it on the computer view or software view. There are different input format which I can define and the size for this input format. So based on this, I can find, for example, the device location which I have created already. And I can edit this information and I can add it whenever required. But I already have a report separately using a CSV file or in different format. So is there any way where I can import that information to the custom field? Yes, we can very well import it. Using the scope of management, we can import the CSV file. Like a custom field can also be imported. So here is an example. Based on this, we can create a CSV file and then import it from the scope of management itself. So those data will be available in the custom field. And there are different options, as I mentioned, in case I just want to enter the location, for example. It is the characters, and I can put in numbers to track the cost for one particular computer. Or if I want to add an invoice for one particular computer, I can also define it as an invoice file. And I can upload a file to that particular computer. So it is useful for running the reports. How do I get the list of recently installed or uninstalled software hardware in my network? So here is the alerts that provides a recently installed and uninstalled softwares. And there are three different categories: information, warning, and critical. There are a lot of different alert types available, like commercial, software installed, uninstalled. Whenever a new software detected on the network, and when a new computer identified on the network, it is based on the agent installation. So we can select the alert type and alert level in order to filter the report, to find what are the activities are recently happening in terms of application installation and installation. And I can choose a date range. Now I can select the date from today and go back to 1 or 2 months, and I can find the report in here. What if I would like to get these alerts via email? So I can also get an email alert by enabling or disabling an email alert. So this option is available in the left pane as configure email alerts. So whenever changes are detected for software installation and installation, or we also have other types of installation and installation, such as commercial or any software, so we can enable the checkbox to get an email alert. So based on the managed licenses that I have added, what if I want to get an alert when it is expires? So I may have a lot of applications that I have licensed, and it is very difficult to track the expiry date. So when adding a managed license, or whenever I add a license, I just need to specify the expiry date. By doing that, I can also get an email alert when it is expires. And additionally, we provide a disk space related alert based on the individual partition, overall free space when it goes less than 10%. Certificates. The Desktop Central also get the certificate information, and based on the expiry date, so you can get an email alert when a certificate expires in next 30 days, 60 days, or 120 days. Even for the hardware changes, you can enable the respective checkboxes and then get an email alert. Normally, you will have an option at the bottom to enter an email address. So based on that, multiple technicians or administrators can get an email alert. Shared directories with write access is a security threat. So how we are going to identify them? So now going back to the inventory reports, and here is a share details under the system reports. And here it shows the permissions, whether it is shared with everyone or to a specific user. So based on this, we can really understand whether it is shared to everyone, and we need to control so unauthorized access can be blocked. So we have a predefined for that. So I have a user-based application, for example, Dropbox. So how can I identify the list of computers that have this Dropbox installed? From the inventory reports, I have user-specific software under software reports. Now this is going to provide a list of applications that is installed as a user-specific one. And also we have a detail view, the software name and computer detail, and installed user account details. How do I identify the computers with local administrator accounts? Is there any best way to get this information for all managed workstations. Yes, we do have a predefined reports for that as well. So from the inventory predefined reports, I have system group users. This report is available under system reports. And now I can apply the filter whether I wanted to get it for one particular domain or branch office, or if I want to filter based on the custom groups, I can also choose whether I wanted to go with the local accounts or domain accounts to get this information. Now, based on the criteria, I can choose the groups in here. I have a list of groups that is scanned from different computers, which is going to be available, or you can scan the group and generate a report accordingly. So now this is going to provide a list of computer that has a local administrator. So I found a malicious software in my network, and I want to uninstall it immediately. How can I do this? And as I explained before, we have prohibited software where I can add the application into this list. However, that helps uninstalling the application based on the 90 minutes refresh cycle. What if I want to uninstall this application immediately? I found it is malicious and I want to uninstall it. Now I can choose a software. I can search for it from this software list. Let me pick a software for an example. Now it shows list of computer that has this software installed. Now for uninstalling this application, I can choose uninstall, a trash icon which is available on the right hand side for this particular application. And this shows a list of computer that has this software installed. Now I can select the computer and then uninstall it. So when I uninstall this application, it is going to prompt me for the silent switches. The silent switches is important, and we need to get the silent switches online, or we can get it from the vendor's website and test it on one of the machine using a command prompt, ensure that the silent switches work successfully for uninstalling that application. Now I can save the command. So based on this, the software can be forcefully uninstalled, and this is going to be an immediate process. So I can uninstall from one or multiple computers. Questions? Do we need to install both Asset Explorer and Desktop Central Agent in all the system? Assume that I am also using a Service Desk Plus along with a System Tool plugin. So Service Desk Plus, it is a ticketing tool. So users can raise a ticket and you can perform certain actions based on the request raised by the end users. Based on the integration, you can perform a lot of actions such as remote control and deploying applications and script deployment. But now when I have both Desktop Central as a System Tool plugin and Service Desk Plus, when they have combined together, I do not have to install both the agents separately. Both the application has an agent. Now this integration eliminates the need of installing the Asset Explorer agent. And with the help of Desktop Central Agent, we collect the inventory details, inventory data from the computers. Also, you can perform various actions via integration. So it is not required to install two different agents when you have Desktop Central and Service Desk Plus. So when I add a program to the prohibited software list, does it take all versions of the software into the account? Or do I need to update the prohibited software list every time when a new version is released or available? We need to add every new version whenever another version is available. So we need to add a new version into the list. Only then it is going to take effect in notifying the end user, also for an installation. So in the portal, when I go to the prohibited software, this allows me to choose multiple versions, as you can see here for an example. So in the inventory report of computers, so without specific software, how to specify a filter criteria and schedule the report. So we have already seen how we can pull the list of computer that contains a specific software installed. But I wanted to schedule it with a criteria. So how can I achieve that? So this is the report that I can select it from here and pull the report. It is useful whenever I just wanted to run the report. But I know the criteria and I want to get the report on a weekly basis. I can add a schedule report. I can choose the inventory in here, computers with or without a specific software. And using the plus sign, I can add a filter. I can name the filter here and select the name as software. I have a criteria. I can go with the equal or not equal. Also, we have other type of criteria here. So based on this, I can choose the software and then save the filter. Based on this, the report will apply this criteria and get the report. And I can configure the frequency to get it on the weekly basis or monthly basis. Does Desktop Central detect what software is installed each machine and if it is licensed? Whether it can detect the product key for applications that is detected. Desktop Central can detect the software product keys for certain applications. So we use an algorithm to find the product keys. And here is a predefined reports for that. From the inventory reports, and I can find the report called software product keys. Now this is going to provide the software name and then the CD key which is available on the right hand side. So you may find entire key, all 24 or 25 digits, alphanumeric code, or you may also see last 5 digits as you can see in here. So based on the algorithm that is used, we can detect only last 5 digits. So this is how it works when it comes to fetching those CD key from the computers. So how can we identify the security status of the machines in my network? From the inventory, so whenever a scan is performed, we also get the details such as BitLocker encryption details. From the security tab, I can find the encryption status of the computer based on different drives, antivirus, and firewall. So these are the 3 factors that determines the security, whether they are enabled or disabled. And even you can find the recovery key without storing it separately with the help of Desktop Central. We can find the recovery key available from here. Whenever required, we can use it for decrypting or unlocking the machine. So how can I use this information, or how can I report for all the computers that I manage in the Desktop Central? So using the inventory reports, I have BitLocker details. So that shows list of all computers with the status, protection status, whether it is enabled or disabled. Even we provide the encryption method. Similarly, you can also generate a report for antivirus details. Here is a TPM details. So here is a TPM that provides trusted platform module, whether it is enabled or activated, and what is the version that is used. You can also find the details for the TPM. You already have the existing or predefined reports for that. Is it possible to identify the USB activity in my user's machine? Yes, Desktop Central also captures the USB activities. So from the Computers tab, so we can click on the computer that shows the USB audit, that shows list of computers, list of USB devices connected and disconnected. Primarily, you can see the usage duration, so how long the device was connected. If you want to pull the report for all managed computers, so from the reports, we do have a USB usage report that helps us to get this information. You can go on detailed view or summary view. So these are the three different activities that we have found or detected. So if you would like to find it out for one particular computer, from the computers tab, we can find that information, or we can use the predefined report available from the reports tab. Is it possible to customize the data that is collected during an inventory scan? So how can I control what information that needs to be collected? By configuring a scan settings, so these are the 4 different criteria that I can enable or disable the component that needs to be excluded. Drivers, so we collect the drivers in order for OS deployment. So if you do not want to collect the drivers, yes, you can uncheck that. Services, shares, a list of certificates. We have selected all different certificates available. So whenever we uncheck certain components, all the previously stored information will be deleted from our database. So ensure that whenever we exclude certain components to be excluded from the scanning, so the previous information will be wiped off completely. So using this setting, I can configure it, and based on that, the scheduled scan helps us in fetching that information. So we are at the end of the training. The rate is on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is best. And if you like this training, spread a word on the social medias, such as Facebook, Twitter, and etc. And we have a next training scheduled for remote control on 4th September, based on the time zone specified here. So far we have talked about asset management. It is one particular module in Desktop Central. You may have a lot of additional questions that you wanted to ask or discuss. We also have a free personalized demo that can be scheduled based on the need. So you can use a link provided below and submit a request, or you can also put it on our chat so we can get that information and schedule the demo based on your need. So you can have a personalized demo and ask any questions and get clarified on how Desktop Central is going to be suitable for your network. So EM is on world tour. So we have various different events on the locations specified here, like Australia, Mexico, and Chile, and Argentina. So if there is any chance, or if there is any opportunity for you to visit these locations in specified date, you can take an opportunity and understand how Desktop Central is going to be useful. Once again, thank you all for joining this training. Hope this session was helpful, and have a great day. Bye-bye.